Hey everybody, so we're going to be talking about systems of linear equations this unit. Systems of linear equations basically has to do with graphing two lines and finding out that intersection point, the point where those two lines meet. Okay, we're going to figure out that missing point in three different ways. The first way is by doing graphing. The second way is by using a method called substitution, and the third is elimination. This one right now is the only one that's going to involve graphing. The other two are just math-based ones where we do like calculations to figure out the missing values. But so this is going to touch upon what we did last unit. If you're just jumping on this unit and you're like, I don't know how to graph lines, it's okay. We'll go over it very briefly. And you can always hit me up in office hours or in after class or whatever, like any other time, text me or something, and I can reach out to you and help you out. Okay. So the first thing is understanding systems, okay? So a system is basically a group of equations. So it's like having one equation and having a second equation, okay? And both of these equations together, that's a really bad thing, make a system, okay? Together, they make a system. Otherwise, they're just like one equation and the other equation. Together, they make a system. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to graph it, okay? So, like, the first one is like this, and the second one is like this, and blah, 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 blah. We have two equations, and together they make a system, okay? So we're going to start by, when we're doing this, we're going to start by graphing these lines, okay? I'm going to graph the line y equals x plus 4 using a red pen, and then I'm going to graph y equals 2x minus 1. I'm going to do it using a black pen, black color, but you can do it using a pencil. And we're going to talk about like what happens, right? So let's say we have this graph like this, okay? In red, I'm going to say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, just as a crash course for those of you that haven't done this, to graph this equation, okay, we're first going to start with this number, the one on the far right, okay? We want to just use the y-axis, so that's this vertical axis right here, okay? We start at the center, that point, which is 0, 0, and we move up 4 spaces because it's a positive 4. And we're going to put a big dot at that 4, okay? Now, in order to do x, we have to imagine that in front of it, it has a 1 over 1. Basically, it's going to have a fraction, okay? It's going to have an invisible 1, and then that invisible 1 has to turn into a fraction, okay? So we're going to go up 1 over 1. So it's going to be somewhere right here, and I'm going to make another dot, connect the dots, and draw my line, okay? Again, if you need help with this, in the previous unit, I have a couple of videos on slope and on graphing the slope-intercept equations. So those would be the two things that you'd want to look at. So then to graph the second line, again, we're going to take the last number, which is negative 1. Because it's negative, I'm going to go down by 1, okay? And I'm going to put a big dot there. And then I'm going to go 2 over 1 because, again, we want to turn it into a fraction. So we go up 2 over 1, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and draw a line connecting the dots, okay? And there we go. Now, write the coordinates of the point where the lines intersect. So, I'm going to go ahead and extend this line like this, and I'm going to extend the red line like this, okay? So there's a point here where they intersect, okay? Now, ideally we do this on actual graph paper, so it's easy to see, okay, where those lines intersect. And we go ahead and we label this point. I'm going to do it in blue so it stands out, okay? We're going to label this point with the two values, the x comma y values. So we have these points, right? Okay, so we find this point where it meets, and then we have the x and the y value, okay? The x is this part right here. It's the one on the horizontal axis, and y is the one on the vertical axis. So you're just going to label the points. I'm going to go ahead and label it like 4, let's see, it was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, it's probably not right because I'm just doing this based on like my really crude drawing and it's probably not perfect. But the point is I should be able to take this point and plug it back into this equation. Okay, so if I take, let's do y equals x plus 4, and I plug my numbers 4 and 9 back into this equation, I'm going to plug 9 in for the y and x and 4 in for the x. So 9 equals 4 plus 4. Now, 4 plus 4 is 8, and that does not equal 9, so I must have gone wrong somewhere. It's probably like 5, not 4, okay? And then 5 would make this 9, and so then that would make sense. So it would probably be 5 comma 9. And then y equals 2x minus 1. If I plug in 9 here, and I plug in 5 for x minus 1, I get 10 minus 1, which is equal to 9. So let's do this. 9 and 9 equals 9. So that makes sense. So the point is actually 5 comma 9, okay? Again, it wasn't really accurate because of my drawing and because my drawing wasn't perfect, but that's where, like, if you have graph paper or something, that's going to be, like, easier for you to use. Or if you print out, like, the worksheets that I give you, that'll be, like, easier. If not, just make sure you double check your work, okay? Okay, so what are systems of equations? They are systems of equations or multiple equations that have a common solution, okay? So basically, like, a solution is like a value that fits into the x and y and solves the problem, makes both sides of the equation equal without any variables involved, okay? So there are many methods to solve these. We're going to actually focus on 3, graphing, substitution, elimination. So this looks overwhelming. I know. Breathe. It's okay. I'm going to talk about this, okay? So basically what we're going to do is we want to match the different equations and find the point where they intersect, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at f and b, okay? So find f, that's here, right? So that's this line, okay? And then b is here, so that's this line, okay? So what we want to do is locate where B meets F, okay? So that point is right here, okay? So I want you to take a moment, all right? Remember that this is the origin, so this is where 0, 0 is, okay? You want to write the x comma the y, okay? So it's x comma y. So first you want to find the x values. So that's the horizontal difference, right? So if we're going to take how many steps left to get to this point right here? That's -1 because we're going in the negative direction or the left direction, okay? So it's going to be -1, and we're only going one space. And then we have to go down 3 spaces to get to the point. So it's going to be -1, -3, okay? Now let's try D and F. So, D, okay, is going to be here, and F is that line that we had before. So we're going to just, kind of draw our pencil over the lines, find where they intersect, which is here, okay? So let's find the x and y coordinate. All right, this one was -1, -3. Let's find here. So again, we start at our origin. I'm going to erase what I had drawn before just so it makes a little bit more sense for y'all and you don't have so much stuff overwhelming you. So this is 0, 0, right? We're going to move to the right however many spaces until we get to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first number is going to be 6. Okay? And then we have to move how many spaces to move up to get to that point? So 1, 2, 3. So it's 6, 3. I want you to take a moment. You're going to pause the video and try and solve 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so you should have paused the video and found the values for 3 through 8. So I'm going to go ahead and go over them and we'll just blast through these. So A and E. Okay. So A, I'm going to do this in red. A is here and E is here. Okay, so E is this line right here and A is this line right here. So these two lines meet up at this point right here. So if this is our origin, I'm going to move over 1 in the positive direction and up 3. So it's going to be at 1, comma 3. Okay? Now let's look at C and A. So A is that same line right here, right? And C is this line. So it's this one right here. So this is the point that we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and just look here. It's this point. Okay? So I'm going to move over 4 steps. Okay? From the origin, move over 4 steps to get to here. And then I move up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6. Okay? So it'll be at 4, comma 6. You could also write like 5.5, but I'm just going to round up. Okay, so 5 is A and B. So A is here, B is here. So A is this line, B is this line. So it meets right here. Okay, I'm going to move over about -3 and move down -1. So it's -3, -1. Then my number 6 is B and E. So I'll do this in green. B is this line right here. E is this line right here, right? So this is the point where they intersect. So I'm going to move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5. And because it doesn't go up or down anywhere, it just stays on that line, it's going to be -5, 0. Okay? Then looking at number 7, I have C and D. So D is here, C is here. So C being this line, D being the vertical line, so it intersects at this point. So I'm going to move over 6, over to the right by 6. And I'm going to move up from this line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6, comma 6. Okay? And then looking at the last one, we have E and C. So E is here, C is here. So E being this line, okay? C is this line, so it meets at this point right here. Okay? This one right here. All right? So I'm going to move over 7 spaces and up about 6 spaces. So it's going to be 7, comma 6. All right? Hopefully that makes sense and that you were able to do those. If you're struggling with this, please reach out during my office hours or reach out to make an appointment to talk to me outside of my office hours, because it's really important that you understand how to do this and how to identify the point and figure out the coordinate, the numbers that fit in the X and Y. Okay? I'm always 100% there to help, and I want to be able to help you guys. So let me know if you're confused. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply this in this example, okay? So in this one, we only have to graph 2 lines. That's what we're going to do. We're going to start off by graphing the 2 lines, and then we'll find the point where they intersect, and we'll just go from there and find that intersection point. It's hopefully fairly simple. Okay, I'm just going to write down the steps one more time. Graph the lines. Find the point where they meet. I'm going to call it the intersection point. Okay. And label the X, comma, Y values. Okay? That's it. So let's start by graphing the red line, okay? And I'll do it in red. So it is 1/2 X plus 5. Y equals 1/2 X plus 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at my origin, and I'm going to move up 5 spaces to where the 5 is, okay? That's going to be my first point, is at 5, okay? We always do it vertically on the vertical part, never on the horizontal for graphing these lines. Then I'm going to take the slope. The slope is 1/2. That is 1/2. So I'm going to move up 1 space and then over 2 spaces. Up 1, over 2, okay? And then I'm going to connect the dots. And I want to connect the dots with as straight a line as possible. So if you have a straight edge or a ruler, you should use that. So I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to lay it on my paper, or on my iPad in this case, and I'm going to go ahead and just draw my line as straight as possible. okay? Trying to cover as much space as possible so in case my other line is in a weird place, they will still intersect and I'll have that nice intersection point. Okay, try to use a ruler because that's going to get you the most accurate answer. So then I'm going to go ahead and graph the second line in blue. I have y equals 4x minus 2. So the minus 2 is our y, so we're going to start at our origin and we're going to go down to negative 2. Okay? Go down 2 spaces or just go to where that negative 2 is on the vertical axis. Okay? Now, I'm going to take my slope and I need to graph my slope. Now, the slope is 4. But because we need to write it as a fraction, I'm going to write it as 4 over 1. There's an invisible 1 that's underneath it. Okay? So I'm going to start at this dot that I have for the negative 2, and I'm going to move up 4 spaces because it's a positive 4, so I'm moving vertically 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the 1 is there, so that means I'm going to move over 1 to the horizontal direction. So here. So my point is going to be right here. Okay? So I'm just going to erase these squiggles so you can see it best. But I have these 2 dots, one at negative 2, one at 1, 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and line up my ruler, and I'll draw my line as straight as I possibly can. Okay? Done. So now I have a place where these 2 lines meet, and that happens to be right here. Okay? So this point is right where I had that dot before, which is convenient. Okay? I want to figure out I found my intersection point. That was step 2. Now I need to label the x and y. Okay? So I have my brackets. I'm going to look at this point, and I'm going to look where it, like, kind of up and down where it hits the x-axis. That's a 2. So it's going to be over 2 from the origin. And then on the vertical axis, it hits the 6. So it's going to be 2, 6. So my answer for this problem is 2, 6. That is my solution for these 2 equations. 2, 6 are the 2 values that if I plug them into these original equations for x and y, the 2 sides will equal each other. How do I know? I can test it. So I plug in 6 for the y in the red equation. I have 1/2 times 2 plus 5. 2 times 1/2 is going to be equal to 1 plus 5. 6 is equal to 6 because 1 plus 5 is 6. Okay? And then if I do this with the blue equation, I plug in 6 equals 4 times 2 minus 2. 4 times 2 is 8 minus 2. 8 minus 2 is 6. So 6 is equal to 6. And yes, now you can see that these 2 values, the x and y, 2, 6, fits into both equations. And when you plug it in and you solve both sides and you simplify them, both sides equals the same number. Okay? So let's go ahead and try it with the next problem. I want you to go ahead and take a moment and try graphing these equations before I show you how to do that, okay? So pause the video, take a sec, and try graphing these equations. So hopefully you took a moment, you graphed these equations. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So just check your work. Okay, so we start off by graphing the first equation. So remember, we start off at the origin and we look at that last number. So that in this case, in the red problem, it's 9. So we go up to the 9 and we put a dot, okay? That's our first point. Then it's an x, right? Now because the x does not have a number in front of it, we're going to assume that it's 1, okay? That's what we always assume. If there's not a number in the front, we assume that it's 1. And then because it needs to be in a fraction form and it doesn't have anything on the bottom, we again we assume that the number below it is 1. So our numbers are 1 over 1. So what we're going to do for our slope is we're going to start at the 9 and we're going to go up 1 over 1. And we'll put a dot. And then I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to place it against those 2 dots, line it up, and draw as straight a line as possible. Okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and switch my colors, and I'm going to go to my blue. So here, because the last number is a 1, I'm going to start and put a dot at the 1. Okay? It's a positive 1. Now, I have a slope of negative 3. Because it doesn't have a fraction, I'm going to put 1, so we assume that it's over 1. I'm going to then go ahead and say, okay, I need to go down 3 and over 1 to the right. So I'm going to start at my blue dot. I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go over positive 1. So it's going to be here. Okay? So down 3 over 1. I'm going to go ahead and line up my ruler, draw my line, voila. And the point where it intersects is right here, okay? So step 1 and step 2 are now done. I just need to find my x comma y, okay? So again, I'm going to go ahead and look at my black dot. I'm going to go down to see what number I have. I have -2, so that goes in the first box. And I'm going to look to the right at what I have over here. That's a 7, so that goes in the right spot, okay? So you literally look down or up for the first point and look to the right or left for the second point. You know, that's a cheap code, easy way to do it. Yeah, you know. Or you can start at the origin and move your dots to get to that point. Yeah. Okay, so this is the answer for this problem. Okay, if I plug it in to my equation, I have 7 equals -2 times 1 plus 9. -2 times 1 is just -2 plus 9 gives me 7. Okay, if I do it for blue, I have 7 equals -3 times -2 plus 1. Sorry. -3 times -2 is 6 plus 1 is equal to 7. So, yes, it works, okay? So, example 3. We don't have much left, so just bear with me, okay? There's this last one problem. So I want you to pause this video. Well, actually, if you have an idea of how to solve it, pause the video right now and go ahead and solve it. If not, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to simplify this to make it kind of what we were seeing before, and then you can go ahead and pause the video and try and solve the problem on your own. Okay, so let's start with our red equation. What's wrong with this picture? Okay, well, what is wrong is that these equations are not in the y equals mx plus b form. We want it where the y is all by itself, right? They're not in this form. They have like numbers on the left-hand side and numbers in front of the y. That's weird. What we're going to do is isolate the y, get the y by itself. How do we do that? Well, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the equation down here, okay? And what I want to do is sort of like try and solve the problem, but I'm just moving things. So when I'm trying to move 3x to the right-hand side to get it away from the y, I'm going to subtract by 3x. Now when I subtract by 3x on the right-hand side, okay, there's nothing to subtract with. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel out the one on the left, and I have 2y left over on the left-hand side. And then I'll have -3x plus 20. I just leave the -3x on the right-hand side, okay? Now I need to get y by itself, so I need to get rid of that 2. I'm going to do that by dividing by 2, okay? So I'm going to divide by 2 from both sides. I get y is equal to -3 over 2x plus, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So that's going to be my new equation, okay? If you think you have an idea, go ahead and pause the video and try and do the blue equation. If not, go ahead and just keep going. Okay, so whether or not you pause the video or you kept going, we're doing the blue equation. We rewrite the blue equation like so. I want to get the y by itself. So I'm going to do that by first moving the x value, and then I'll worry about the 2. So I'm going to add 6x to both sides to get the negative gone on the left. So I cancel that. I get 2y equals, and then I have my positive 6x plus 2. Now to get rid of the 2, I need to divide because 2 times y is multiplying. So I divide everything by 2. I get y equals 6 divided by 2, which is 3. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. So 3x plus 1. Okay? Now I'm going to graph everything like I did before. So if you were like confused up until this point and now you're like, oh, okay, things are making sense, go ahead and pause the video, attempt to solve this problem on your own. Okay, so hopefully you have an answer. We're going to just go ahead and check your answer and see if you get what I get. So we're going to start with the red equation. We want to plug our plus 10 into it. So we're going to put a red dot at 10. And then we have -3 over 2. It's already in fraction form. So we know we're going to go down 3 over to the right by 2. So down 3 over 2. We get it right there. and I'm going to plot my point. Okay. So do my line and done. So please make sure that your line looks like mine. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and look at the blue one. So I have 3x plus 1. I go ahead and put my dot at 1. And then I'm going to go up. So the 3x means we have 3 over 1 for our slope. So we're going to do up 3 over 1. Put my dot. I'm now going to take my ruler and draw my second line. And there we go. Okay. So I now have my lines intersecting, and they intersect at this point right here. Okay? So I need to find my x comma y for this equation. So I'm going to go ahead and look at my vertical value. It's going to be 2. Or sorry, my horizontal value, my x value, right? So that's over here, 2. And then over here, we're going to have 7. So 2 comma 7. Okay? And that's my answer. All right, so let's take a look at these problems, okay? Is 3 comma 6 a solution to the system of equations? So we can do two things. We can graph this and see if it's a solution, and that would be pretty simple. We just look for that intersection point. Or we can plug it into this equation. So plug in 3 and 6 into the x and y and see if it's the correct answer. Let's go ahead and do the plugging in just because it's less steps. But if you feel more comfortable with graphing, you can of course do that. So 2 times 3 plus 7 times 6 equals 48. 2 times 3 is 6. 7 times 6 is 42. 6 plus 42 is 48. So it is a solution. So 3, 6 is a solution for the first equation. Okay. Then we try 5x plus 3y. So 5 times 3 plus 3 times 6 equals 51. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 6 is 18. Is that equal to 51? 5 plus 8 is 13, carry the 1, we get 33. That is not equal to 51, okay? So 3, 6 is a solution for the first equation, but it's not a solution for the second equation. So that means it's not a solution for the system of equations. So 3 comma 6 is not a solution because it is not a solution for 5x plus 3y equals 51. Okay? That's it. You could graph this and you would probably not find the intersection point at 3, 6. You would find it at another point. That's another way to prove it. But since I did it through math, this is how I would figure that out. So looking at this one, is 2 comma 5 a solution to the system of equations? So I'm going to show you using the graphing method because I figure why not, okay? So let's go ahead and rearrange the bottom equation for y. So I'm going to start by subtracting 2x. Okay, you could do this using the math method. That's also a valid one. Negative 2x plus 15. I'm going to divide by 2. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. I get y equals negative x plus 15 over 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and graph. The first one is going to start at 1, and it's going to go up 2 over 1, like that, okay? Draw my line, done. Then I have my second equation, okay? This one I'll do in red. So 15 over 2, 15 divided by 2 is like 7.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's kind of like halfway in between right there. And then I'm going to go down 1 over 1, okay, because it's like that, right? I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. Boom, boom, boom. So it's 2 comma 5 a solution. Now here's the thing, is that this is quite out there. Like, if this is 1, then 2 is like here, okay, and 5 is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is here. So it could be actually. It could be an option. Again, the only way to really prove it is to plug it in. So 5 equals 2 times 2 plus 1. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. So that one works. Trying the second one. 2 times 2 plus 2 times 2 equals 15. That's 4 plus 4. That is not equal to 15 because that's 8 equals 15. So that doesn't work. So 2, 5 is not a solution because it is not a solution for 2x plus 2y equals 15. Or you could look at the graph and say, nah, that's not it. It's a little far out there. Okay? So that's basically the set of notes. What you're going to be doing for your practice, for your the practice activities, you're going to get a few of these equations. You're going to graph them, and you're going to find the intersection point. Okay? Please hit me up if you have any questions. I'm available at office hours. That's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, from 11:30 to 1:30. I'm also available by appointment, so you can just say, hey, Miss B, I want to go over the project. Let me know when you're free, and we'll set up a time, okay? So, yeah, feel free to ask any questions. I'm here to help, and hopefully you guys are taking care of yourselves, all right? Take care. Bye-bye.